Hello, Internet! My name is Catherine Barsonistis, and you are watching The Gluttonous Geek Presents Munchies and Minis, my cooking show where I make recipes inspired by various tabletop role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, Shadowrun, and in the case of today, something a little bit different than you might not have even heard of before. The game I am talking about is Good Society, where if you happen to be a fan of any kind of Napoleonic era sort of romance or Regency era period sort of novel or film or anything like that, it's essentially pretty much every kind of scenario you could possibly think of, every kind of scandal. It's the whole you're playing and creating your own Regency era novel with your friends. And the reason why I really wanted to do this particular game, is one, because I was an English major and I was a huge Jane Austen nerd, still kinda am, and also this upcoming Friday on Slady's Atlanta, I'll be playing in a Good Society one-shot with a couple of other folks. It should be a lot of fun. You should come join. I believe we are streaming starting at about 7 p.m. Eastern. Do not quote me on that, but check around the Slady's Atlanta, Slady's ATL, that is SLAYDIES ATL. On all your various social media channels, and you should come join us. It'll be a lot of fun. I get to play two different widows of differing ages and dispositions, so this should be pretty interesting. Anywho, Strike put it in the chat, so you should definitely check it out. So today I am kind of making a slightly different take on an actual Regency era recipe. This punch was called Regent's Punch, or George IV Punch. It was reported to have been George IV's favorite, and for those who don't know their English history, well, for one, I don't blame you, because most of you are probably in the States like I am. George IV was the son of George III. George III has a very snappy number during the musical Hamilton. But technically, no, George III was the King of England during the American Revolution. His son, George IV, it was his successor, his heir, and around the time period where he was pretty much, for the most part, in charge because his father was not quite there. It was called the Regency era, mostly due to, well, his reign as both the king and not really quite the king. So any of those Jane Austen movies that you see, it takes place during that time. And this particular recipe comes from Eliza Acton's Modern Cookery for Private Families, published in 1845. And it's called the Regent's or George IV's Punch. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just read through the recipe for you, or just read some snippets of it. It uses mandarin orange, or China oranges as they put it, lemon, Seville orange, which we don't really have access to here, so we're going to be using a navel orange instead, green tea, Jamaica rum, Arak, which also can be, you can also use anisette or absinthe if you really want to go kind of crazy. But Arak is this, I want to say kind of an Eastern European, usually Greek, grape spirit that has been, well, distilled and given sort of an anise kind of licorice flavor. We're not going to use that because that was double the price of what I found for anisette at the package store, so we're going to be using that instead. Anyway, it also uses French brandy, cognac. We're not going to use that as well. We're going to be using a different kind of brandy. We're going to be using amaretto, which is made with apricot pits as well as almonds, but normally just tastes of almonds. And the reason why I'm doing this is because since there's a lot of romance in the Good Society games, almonds and apricots are considered kind of an aphrodisiac in multiple cultures, as well as kind of just, helping and assisting with romance and whatnot. Yes, romance. And it's made with pineapple syrup and champagne, so yes, it is stupidly boozy. And I am making something stupidly boozy. Um, but I'm only going to be making about a half recipe of it. So, the notes I'm going to be reading off right now is that um, we are indebted for this receipt to a person who made the punch daily for the prince's table at Carlton Palace for 6 months. It has been in our possession for some years and may be relied on. So I'm going to rely on Eliza Acton's notes about the Regent's punch. So since we're going to be doing that, and also since a lot of this recipe is just going to be kind of sitting around and waiting for stuff to steep, we're also going to be working on one of my blog post recipes today. And funny thing about this one today, Strike says Liza better be on her game. Yeah, she better. Or I will very much not be on my game. But anyway, today's other recipe I'm going to be working on is, like I said, it's going to be a blog post recipe. So once it gets published, it's going to be there on the blog, full recipe notes and everything. Funny thing about this one, this was actually one of the recipes that got me to start the blog. It never actually made it onto the blog, though. I want to say back in 2015, my good friend, i.e. little sister from another mister, Brianna Lamb, now Darnell, i.e. the Lady Nerd, was trying to start a food, like a dinner and a movie portion on her blog. She did about we did kind of two things together, and one was on Roman Holiday, where we just made some recipes that she had found on Pinterest, and the second one she wanted to do was for Anna and the King, which decidedly fewer things that you could do for Anna and the King. So I want to see if I can make a Thai version of an English recipe. So I made kind of a Thai cottage pie. Using sweet potatoes as a crust, using ground chicken instead of ground lamb, as well as coconut milk in the topping, and it turned out excellent. However, like a lot of things that are of the same color as well as consistency, cottage pie doesn't always look all that great when it's photographed. Especially this thing, and keep in mind this was when I had a crappy camera that was point and shoot. This was before I even started the blog, so we haven't actually gotten around to putting it on the blog until, well, I have a much more decent camera, and two, I learned a lot more about Thai cuisine rather than, oh, we'll just put some peanut sauce in it. So yeah, I'm going to be making that on the side as we wait for things to steep with this punch. So thank you for joining me tonight. We are going to let's get on it. So first thing with this particular with this punch, the Regent's punch, it does use a cup of very strong green tea. Now that you would probably think, oh well, I would just make some green tea and just let it steep forever. Bad idea. Thing is, tea does have particular temperatures and steeping times, and the reason for that is because the flavors will change on you if you happen to go over those temps or over those times. Green tea, for example, can burn if you have it way too high of a temperature on it. That is why I suggest using one of my favorite things in the kitchen, and that is a temperature-controlled tea kettle, which I'm going to be setting for this tea at about 175 degrees. Not going up, going down. Now, granted, you can go a little bit higher, but I would suggest no higher than about 180 degrees. Next, you can oversteep green tea. You do not want to go any longer than about 3 minutes. At the most 4. I would suggest 4 if you happen to be using a mint and green tea blend, which we are not using. We are going to be using, actually, because I realized I don't have... Yeah, Strike says 5 is right out. That is correct, sir. I'm going to be using Dryad Tea's Bob the Skull tea blend for those Dresden Files fans out there, because I realized I don't have any plain green tea within quick eye reach of when I was digging through the cupboard. I thought I did. We're going to be using about 3 teaspoons of this. And It is actually a green tea blend. Its base is green tea. It has green tea, puffed rice, lemon peel, rose petals, jasmine flowers, lemon, lime, and raspberry pieces. It is quite a good tea. It kind of tastes like candy when it's sweetened up, I will admit. And you can find that on Dryad Tea's website. This is not a sponsored episode, by the way. That's eventually when I talk to her about having her on as a guest. But go to dryadtea.com. She has a bunch of different nerdy blends, and this is one of them, Bob the Skull. She also has a Dresden blend, which is Lapsang Souchong, which is a smoked black tea. And it has catnip and something else in there too, but it's quite good, especially really good as a steak rub. Yes, Strike, pop that into the chat if you want to check that out. But yes, I've got about 3 teaspoons of that very gorgeous tea in my tea steeper right there. I'm just gonna stick that over there for now, because as we wait for our tea to get, our water to get hot enough, I'm gonna need to do a couple more things for this prep, and that will be prepping my citrus. So you're gonna need a navel or Valencia orange. I found navel, a lemon, and a mandarin orange. Voila, le citrus. I don't really think that that's the actual word for it, because I can't remember the French word for citrus. I imagine, there's lemon, l'orange, there we go, orange and lemon. So what you want to do is then just get the peel off of the fruit, like so with your vegetable peeler, and try as hard as you can to avoid getting the white pith, because the white pith gets very bitter and will add some not so good flavors to your punch. I've discovered this the hard way when making mead before, in which a batch of orange ginger mead got rather disgusting. And you can see there's just barely any pith on there. But yes, it got rather disgusting because of all of the pith. Lesson learned. But yeah, I don't have to chop it up fine or anything like that, because what we're just trying to mostly do is get the oils from the skin into our infusion. So I am just gonna continue to peel till I have as much skin as I possibly can get from this guy. Okay. And yeah, I know normally with mandarin oranges you can buy them in those large bags at the grocery store. My case, it wasn't any different. So I'm going to be making marmalade this weekend. By the way, I do have a marmalade recipe from Munchies and Minis when I was doing a recipe inspired by Blue Rose RPG. So if you want a recipe for some orange ginger marmalade, check that out. It's, well, honestly, if you go to my website, thegluttonousgeek.com, put in the search bar marmalade, it'll pop right up. So, coffee. Alright, we're about 10 degrees away from our water being hot enough. So, there we go. Got my mandarin orange. Now it's time for the navel orange, which is being much more, stubborn with me. I mean, yes, I'm getting pith, but I'm trying to kind of aim the peeler a little bit away from the orange as I'm peeling. And yes, it is okay to get smaller slices just to be able to avoid as much of that pith as you possibly can. We are going to be using the juice as well, so waste not, want not, but that is going to be a different step of the process. So make sure that you have a juicer as well, and I'm going to make sure that on my recipe card that I will have a juicer listed in the list of ingredients. Alright, make sure that you don't have any stickers on your fruit and peels, like me. I mean, we are going to be straining all this, so if it happens to get in there, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But, usually you kind of want that out. Alright, so my water is hot enough, so I'm going to pour about 2 cups of that hot water in there into my measuring cup. I'm gonna pour just a wee tiny bit over because some of it's gonna get soaked up. And stick my tea steeper right in there. Isn't that adorable? And since I don't want that many of the volatile oils escaping from my tea, I'm just gonna stick that there and cover it with a saucer to keep those volatile oils in there. And set a timer for, I'm gonna set about 245 because it took me about 15 seconds to get that in there. And just let it steep. Do its thing while you continue to peel the oranges. There we go. I peel the oranges. And then I'll be peeling the sweet potatoes. Sorry, my fandom of My Big Fat Greek Wedding kind of slipped out there. Which, by the way, has anyone ever seen that movie? Have you guys seen that movie? It's honestly one of my favorites. Because I come from, well, my father's family is Romanian. And honestly, watching that film was kind of like watching my family reunions when our grandparents and great-grandparents were still alive. And it was kind of hilarious for my parents to watch because, yeah, that was basically my mother, a Midwesterner from a very Anglo family, learning how to blend in with an Eastern European family. So yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite films ever. Alright, so doing the same with the lemon. Come on. I will say the tea here is casting some interesting shadows because got the sun setting through the window, and if it wasn't for this, it would be right on my face. Lemon, orange. Okay. Alright, and that's my timer. So, I'm just gonna...
Everybody needs a friend, so we're gonna give him one right here.
Take that out. Take that away. And I've got 2 cups of green tea. So next up, I need to make a syrup with all of this. So I'm just gonna grab my saucepan here. Which, yes, you will need a saucepan. I think that's for the most part all as much lemon peel as I'm gonna get. I'm just gonna pour that in there. I'm going to add all of the peel that I just peeled. There we go. Alright, I think that, yep, that is all the peel. As much peel as I'd want to get anyway. And I'm just going to stick that directly on my stovetop. Put that over medium heat for now. And get about two cups of granulated sugar right here. Gonna let that heat up a little bit more. In the meantime, I'm going to juice these fruits into this other measuring cup. Right, what am I doing? I was looking for my juicer. There's my juicer. Okay, so this is where, like, you know, when you want to kind of break up a little bit more of these cells in your fruits to get enough juice out. That's what you're going to do. Just going to press down on the fruit, roll it against your cutting board to break up a few more of those cells so we get a lot more juice out of this. Then, what you do is you cut off each side, cut it in half, and what you want to do is put the bottom half here. Because that way, all of this reams out the inside of the fruit. And you get more juice out. Because it's able to press it up against all of the walls of the fruit, like so. Oh. Stay. I command you. Alright. Now we're just going to do that with the remaining fruit here. It looks like we got some seeds accidentally in there. We'll pick it out with a spoon in a little bit. No worries there. What am I doing? We got a bag right here. Let's just use that. Ha. Okay. Once again, squeeze a bit. Though the mandarin orange, you don't really have to do that as much. It's a little bit more delicate of a fruit. So. Oh! Ha-ha! Thought you got me there, didn't you? Alright. Once again, slicing off back, corners. Slice that in half. Isn't that pretty? Let's see how we doing on our stove. Okay, I'm going to switch briefly to our stove because I'm just going to pour in all of our sugar like so. And take a whisk and just keep stirring this until it fully dissolves. We just basically wanted it warm enough to, one, release the help release the oils from our peel a little bit faster, but also make this dissolve a little faster too. We are essentially making a simple syrup here. And that looks pretty darn dissolved to me. Okay, so now it's dissolved. I'm going to shut that off. and put a lid on it to keep my volatile oils from escaping. And we're going to let that steep as we continue to juice our citrus fruits.
Very much alike.
Here we go. There we go. All right, now one more. Roll, 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 roll in the hay, roll, roll your troubles away. When life is awful, just jump on the stoffel and roll, roll in the hay. Yeah, it's been that kind of day. Right, so corners, like so. I promise you, I haven't had a drop of booze yet. Anywho. Orange. Which, oh, it's a bit way too large than I want to be using. So, now it's time to get messy. Alright. I mean, I do have a citrus reamer, which would have been useful if I hadn't already cut the back off of this. But I already cut the back off of this. So it's going to do pretty much the exact same thing I'm going to do to it now, except I'll get another tool messy, which, meh. So, there's one. Don't worry, my hands are clean. Alrighty. Haha. There we go. Besides, we're adding enough alcohol to this to kill pretty much anything, actually. Alrighty. So, we have our fruits. And said I was gonna fish out those thingies. Seeds, yes. Oh, what am I doing? I've got a perfectly good tea strainer to pour this through. Let me just... There we go. Yep. Okay. So, let's go back to our stove can. Just gonna... It's taking a lot longer than I anticipated. What am I doing? I'm gonna strain this whole thing anyway. Oh well. Should get the rest of these leaves out anyway. Give that a rinse. And make that go a little faster. You know, I think I already got all the seeds right there anyway. What the hell? There we go. Alright, I'm just going to hold on to this, because there are a couple other things that I need to measure. So, do a little switcheroo, toss that out, and stick that back on to steep for at least half an hour. At least. So, what are we going to do in that half an hour? Well, as you saw, we have another recipe listed on my today's recipe little section, we're going to be making essentially dinner for tonight and one of my blog post recipes that's going to be upcoming. So we're going to be making a Thai version of a cottage pie. If you don't know what a cottage pie is, but you know what a shepherd's pie is, well, the only difference is the type of meat, really. Shepherd's pie usually refers to lamb. Though, honestly, I've seen all beef shepherd's pies anyway. Oh yay, nomenclature. We're not going to be arguing about that anytime soon. So, we're going to be making a ground chicken sort of version of cottage pie. I would have done ground pork because it usually lends itself better to Thai dishes. But, yeah, frozen pork was not available for my grocery delivery, so we're going to be using ground chicken instead. Though you could use ground pork if you wanted to. It's going to be all cooked through anyway, and it's going to have a similar texture, so. And also, ground pork does have a little bit more flavor than ground chicken, but the flavors both lend very well to the peanut sauce that we're going to be cooking the filling with. So, right, I'm just going to make sure that that was all I needed to do on that particular thing. It is and it isn't. So, we also need to be pouring the alcohols and whatnot into the pitcher that we're going to be putting this punch in. The thing is, though, I still have stuff in that pitcher. Specifically, I have my Thai basil lemonade, which I made for my last dinner party. It is quite delicious, but I only have 1 gallon pitcher, so we're gonna need to empty this out. Oh no, anything but that. So, my Thai basil lemonade goes very well with gin or vodka. So, got my tankard here, and my gin. That's not my gin, that's my bourbon. Is this my gin? Are you my gin? You are my gin! Yay, gin! Gin, 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 gin. Ha ha, yes. Gin. It also goes very well with tequila, I might also like to add. So, lemonade. I just have a wee bit left. I'm going to pour what's left of this lemonade into a wee glass that I might mix with something else later on. So, lemonade, wee glass. There we go. Empty pitcher, which means I can rinse it out. And since it's only had sugar and basil and lemon, I'm just gonna give it a rinse, and it'll be just fine. Okay, to my big-ass pitcher here. Aha. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of the booze, not all of it, because some of that booze happens to be champagne, which unless we keep that cold, it's gonna go flat on us, and we don't want to do that. So, we're gonna hold off on that until we get towards the end of our stream. However, let's go ahead and put some boozahol into my pitcher. So, you're gonna need about half a cup of amaretto. Oh. Derp, 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 derp. So, interesting thing about working with historical recipes is that they didn't really have, they had their own standard measurements, and no, they did not use the metric system. Strike says that should go on a t-shirt, you are my gin. Yes, I'm down for that. Maybe I should just start having bumper stickers with, like, the random crap I spout off during streams. Okay, half a cup of amaretto. Next up, you're gonna want a half a cup of Arak, spelled A-R-A-K, or anisette. which is another anise flavored spirit that currently is less expensive than the imported Iraq that I found at the liquor store today. And I am only making so much money from blogging so far, so I leave it up to you if you want to have authenticity or not. Alright, so we've got that. What other boozahol do we need? Yes, a half a cup of gold or spiced rum, preferably Jamaican. The Jamaican rum was a wee bit expensive, so I'm using Cruzan aged dark rum, which is from Saint Croix instead, or Saint Croix, for you non-speaking heathens, non-French speaking heathens there. Okay, about half a cup of that. Just gonna pour that in there. More boozahol. Boozahol. All right, and pineapple nectar. Now, I probably should have just bought the bottled stuff, but the canned stuff was cheaper, and I see why. So I'm gonna need. How much do you think it's gonna be? It's gonna be a half a cup. I mean, if you read the actual recipe, it calls for a cupful, which recipe historians believe was about a standard cup. Oh, actually, no, it says it calls for a glass full, and not wine glass, mind you. Wine glass, I think, was about a half a cup, while a glass was an 8-ounce cup, roughly. So I managed to get about half a cup of juice out of that can of pineapple, which I think I'm just going to freeze that to use for something at some point. Actually, it might be kind of nice to do some puff pastry rounds with some pineapple. But anyway, half a cup of pineapple juice with, I got a few chunks in there. It'll be fine. So, now that that's in there, I'm just going to shut that up. Put it in the fridge to keep cool until our syrup is ready. So, with that, let's go ahead and start making dinner. And, cap down. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Okay. That was for the anisette. I can move the boozahol over here. Sit. Stay. Good. Okay. Alrighty. Boozahol, boozahol. So, this is where I get slightly annoying by getting my camera out. Because, like I said, this is a blog post recipe, which means I have to take progress photos. And
nice
honestly, I hate taking progress photos, but you know, it has to be done. And sometimes it's useful, as in it shows you how to do a thing. Sometimes it's useless, as in it's just basically filler to break up space.
You have to really
I guess
trust
it's not
yourself,
that
I think,
useless. But it's
to give
still,
something space.
it feels useless to me. I am, just because I'm like, I've got my hands covered in stuff. Why the heck am I taking photos when my hands are covered in stuff? And well,
technical or
it's
impressive in some ways.
because people need to see things. So I'm like, okay. Alright, so now I just have to do some ingredient shots for reasons. And hope I can arrange my ingredients so they don't look too phallic. Notice how I said the words too phallic. Yeah, that's an actual thing when taking prep photos for recipes. It's the whole, okay, how can I arrange this so it doesn't look like a
Here I
peen?
am. Here's my
And
feeling.
sometimes it's intentional, like with my Bridgerton posts. ended up arranging
my
the
feeling.
vegetables into
Here's
a
my
not so
heart.
tasteful naked woman. The onions were the boobs. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it's intentional, but a lot of times it's the whole, how can I arrange this without it looking like a peen? Or maybe I should arrange it so it looks like, I wonder how many times I can get away with saying the word peen on my stream before Twitch decides to bleep it out. Anyway, Strike says, I feel like the phallic aspect diminishes when the big knife is right next to it. At least for all of us who remember Lorena. Oh, that was good. I should be drinking my juice. My boozy juice. It's Tuesday, right? Alright, so we got my carrots, I got my shallots, I've got sweet potatoes, lime, right, edamame. That's the thing. A lot of times, shepherd's pie or cottage pie contains, what's it called? Peas. But the thing is, peas are, well, they don't really grow all that well in Thailand. They tend to kind of shrivel up and die, actually. However, soybeans are a little bit more, well, common. So, do I do the whole arrange it so it's a half-open package? And I'll put it in a bowl. It won't be too heathenistic. And I'll do this one. Edamame. About a half a cup there. There we go. And maybe we can have it get a little bit more of a color arrangement here. Yeah, that does look rather phallic. I mean, if you want a fun song with the word phallic in it, if it's longer than it's wide, then it's phallic. If it's longer than it's wide, then it's phallic. If it's not as long as it's wide, then just turn it on its side. Then just turn it on its side. Now it's longer than it's wide, and it's phallic. God, where did the second wind come from? Oh, I know what it was. Carter made me coffee when I got home. Yep. Alright, so. Preparation photo with a knife. Camera. With the card, yes. And no flash. No flash. There we go. Go. That's pretty. And it doesn't look phallic. I am very proud of myself. Wanna see? Let's see if you can get that. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Okay. And cool. Okay. Ingredient photo. So, now it's time for prep work. So, first off, got to peel the potatoes. Oof. I remember why I don't cook sweet potatoes out often. They're so much more of a pain in the butt to peel. Okay. Knife camera action. Nice. Actually, Strike, that's a t-shirt. Knife camera action. I like it. But we could probably adjust that a little bit more so it's more cooking related. And we'll workshop it. Okay. Roots. Get that off of there. Yeah, that's a thing. Prep is going to eat up most of your time for pretty much anything. There we go. That is one potato peeled. Yeah. And the next one. Let's see, Strike Red Kite says, I mean, what streams just did step on me, my liege, for Ellie, so I feel like there are no rules. Okay. Knife camera action, I like that. There we go. Oh. I peeled the potatoes. Alrighty. So, just gotta make the safer cut. That's the thing about knife work. A lot of it is creating stable surfaces and similar size pieces. We're gonna go for about a 1/2 inch dice here, or about a roughly an inch dice. As you see, I made them into planks first, so I'm gonna need to rinse that off. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss these into my colander right there. Maybe about a 1/2 inch thick planks right here, which I can turn into 1/2 inch batons, and then I dice them. So, there we go. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work and be as similar as possible. There we go. And you notice I cut this to make it a little bit more stable on my cutting board. Because especially with a thick vegetable like this, which I realize about halfway into that phrase how even more wrong that sounded. If you are not careful and kind of, just making it a little bit easier for yourself, you are more likely to cut your fingers off. Don't do that. So, there we go. That's rough, it should do it, though. 1/2 inch batons, 1/2 inch cubes. And thing is, a big thing is learning how to hold your knife properly so you're less likely to have your knife slip. And I'm just going to do a quick review. I'm sure that if you watch the show a million times like my mod Strike has, this should probably be verbatim for you at this point. But, if you're new and joining us, here's a quick refresh on how to hold a knife properly. you take the index finger of your dominant hand, mine happens to be my right, so dominant hand, index finger, right up here against the blade, where it meets with the handle. Thumb right here, and then comfortably arrange your fingers around the handle to hold it. And as you cut, you'll notice how it takes very little pressure from your hand to keep a blade still. So, right, this is another, oof, we're going to be cutting that slightly smaller from the side, and from that side to make that flat. There we go. That one's a little tougher to work with, admittedly. So, time to cut some planks. Lay that flat so it is a bit more stable. There we go. Alrighty. I promise you the other things will be a lot less difficult to cut. Okay. There we go. Slice and dice. So, there we go. And these little end things, I mean, the truth of the matter is we are mashing these. I mean, the reason why we are cutting them to size is so they all cook within a reasonable amount of time. So we don't have some pieces that are fork tender and others that are straining to get through the potato ricer. We don't want that, so similar sizes it is. And we're just gonna, if it seems like it's too small at that end, just flip it over and then handle it from there. So, oh, I'm gonna have to rinse these, it looks like, in batches. So, I'm just gonna do that. And I'm gonna grab my saucepan that I'm gonna be cooking my potatoes in. So, we will use this one. So, that on side. Give this a rinse to get the excess starch off. And the reason why we're doing it this way is to prevent having super kind of wallpaper paste type mashed sweet potatoes. Even though you have that problem more with like russet potatoes or creamer potatoes than you would with sweet potatoes, it still is not a bad idea just to do it out of habit and just in case. So I'm just gonna toss that in here for now until we finish cutting that potato. Okay. There we go. And one more piece of potato, and then we've got shallots to cut. Okay, I think we'll hold off on the shallots until I get through the carrots. Okay, that's roughly about the same size. All right, give that a rinse. And move that. Actually, we're gonna move you somewhere else. And somewhere else is gonna be over here. Okay. So now I just need to first cover my potatoes with water. And it doesn't have to be a specific amount, it just has to cover them. Just come right over those things. Like so. So, now I'm just gonna put that over high heat to get that to start boiling. And this is when I have to, unfortunately, for your sake, but I'm gonna have to put the fan on. So, alright, things I was doing. That's right, I was slicing things. And I realize I don't want all my edamame to thaw out before I'm done using it. So, I'm just gonna stick that in there to use for another dish at another time, which that time is not this time. Okay. Now I should actually start looking at my instructions that I wrote earlier today. Okay, so you just want to wait for those potatoes to come to a boil, so we'll keep an eye on that as we go along. Don't set a timer until it is boiling. So, right, let's finish slicing up some things. So, I'm just gonna grab another little prep bowl to put things in. We're gonna be putting the carrots and shallots in at the same time. So you're gonna need 2 carrots. Just gonna pop the ends off of there. And we're going to do 1/2-inch dice on these. And the fastest way to do this is to cut it into sections like so. Split that. Quarter it. And then dice it. There you go. And some pieces are going to be a bit larger, some are going to require fewer cuts, like this tiny little end piece here. I'm only going to have to slice that and then dice pieces along that edge, because it is not nearly as thick as the upper part of the carrot. Okay, split that in half. It's the same with these parts of the carrots too, it looks like. I might end up using another carrot because the carrots I have right here are a little small. I think I want a bit more than that. So, we'll grab another one after we get this one diced up. Okay. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, this was actually the dish that kind of started the Gluttonous Geek. I mean, the thing is, I had done geeky food stuff before, but the whole I should start a blog thing didn't really come up until I made this thing. And part of it was the first kind of inspired flavor, like book, English paper but through food recipe that I had done, because even though, I mean, Anna Leonowens was, for the most part, kind of very much a fraudster, kind of trying to sell a sort of harem-style novel, but, you know, people usually salivate over, oh, this is a true story, so, yes, my time with the King of Siam, who we shall not tell you, but he's actually 60 in real life, and I was 24 when I met him. Not a sexy Chow Yun Fat. I'm gonna basically think of the story as more of a story, as fiction, rather than, oh, this is a true story, apparently. But the way the film presents it is just how these two characters come from very set mindsets. And I say characters, not real people. And mindsets that are tradition-based and enlightenment-based, based off of their conceptions of enlightenment. But, I mean, there's a sense of duty, they basically go through this whole endeavor without being quite how they were when they started out. And, I mean, Anna still insists on that house, even though King is like, you sure? Our houses are, they're kind of crap. You could live in a palace, you know? And she's like, house. I want a house. And he's like, fine, you get a house. So she's like, I'm guessing what this recipe is, damn it, I want cottage pie. Well, we don't really have peas. I'll use this pea-looking thing then. Well, we don't really have too many cows here. They're really expensive. Okay, I'll use pork. And dairy, we don't have much of that either. Fine. What do we have? Coconut milk. But the way I see it, without being too Eddie Izzard about it, is that here's this English tradition that she tried to present, but doing it in a way with what she has, or I guess what they have. So, I have a much better description written down somewhere when I first started writing about this. This is probably more of the coffee I had this afternoon talking, but when I first made this, it was excellent, but there were a few more anachronisms that I wanted to kind of change up, because, well, I didn't have peas, I had celery in the first one. They don't really use celery that much unless it's shiny celery, which doesn't taste like celery at all. So, we're going to be using edamame instead. Instead of onions, they used shallots more often, so we're going to be using shallots in this particular dish. And are my potatoes boiling yet? They are not, so I can afford to yak on a little bit longer as I get this peeled. God, this thing is huge. I've never seen shallots this large, actually, but Publix had them. So you'll want 2 to 4 shallots based on what size you happen to encounter. I'll just peel that part away, especially if you have a questionably usable layers like mine. And we're just gonna try to dice those, or we might just end up slicing them. But just gonna do that, about 1/2 inch thick, and then dice it like so. Keep things, for the most part, easy. There we go. Yeah. Alrighty. Maybe I can get away. Nope, that's... No. No. Nope, that's not very usable. Okay. Alright. That is 1 shallot, though that would probably be about 2 smaller shallots, so I would probably go for 4 regular size shallots if you can. So basically 2 or 3. I mean 3 or 4. And this is more of an average. It's like kind of the larger end of average as far as shallot size is concerned. And yes, I know this sounds so dirty. I'm just talking about vegetables. Okay. Just peel that top layer off. The thing with slicing onions or onion type things, slice it in half first, unless you're doing rings, because it's going to make peeling it a lot easier. And also, you can use this as a handle right here, see? So that one's a little bit more radial, so I'm doing more of a radial cut to it before I dice it, like so. Oh! I almost cut my hand. And Boiling yet? Nope, not yet. Okay. Strike says they're so large and bulbous. Indeed they are, sir. What was that you said earlier about your game group? Strike. So Strike, he's my mod here on Twitch. Good friend of mine. Met him through the internet. Like, I'm finding is kind of trending with most of my really good friends these days. But yeah, he runs my Thursday night D&D game. He also runs the Sunday Brunch Club over on Chaotic Tiefling's channel. I highly recommend, and I'm finding it kind of funny and awesome that a lot of the various streamers are all playing Strike's campaign setting, like his homebrew campaign setting, and they're wanting to do it for fun. While it's like, oh, I have all these shows things, but this thing is cool and this guy is a really good DM. I just want to play this game for fun. And we just kind of end up streaming it anyway. But anyway, he was telling us that, my Sunday morning game, the Sunday Brunch Club, it's like they're lewd enough as it is, and then I have my Tuesday night game, and they're like, hold my beer, and then there's my Thursday night game, and that's our game, and we're like, hold my beer. And then we're like, we brought beer, so apparently we are the lewdest of the three, which does not surprise me in the slightest. So here I am, making vegetable jokes, which is fitting for a cooking stream. Alright, got all the shallots cut. Shallots. Okay, so now we're gonna need a lime and a zester. And I already put, oh, my juicer's clean. Yay! Clean juicer. Which somehow sounds dirty because reasons. Alright, so back to our stove cam. We are finally boiling! Yes! So I'm just gonna switch it to the other burner, which I've setting to medium. Switch that over. And help if I turn the right burner on. Switching that to medium, turning that off, and setting a timer on my potatoes for about 10 minutes. Till it's supposedly going to be fork tender. So, alright, let's do a wee bit of a stir there, because that looks like that would be an excellent picture composition. So, just gotta zest my lime, or if we're speaking Spanish, limon. And I also remember I need to chop up some cilantro. Now, I would have preferred Thai basil, but they don't sell it at my grocery store. But cilantro works pretty well. I mean, considering that what we're doing with this recipe is kind of a sort of a hybrid take on chicken larb and chicken satay as far as flavors are concerned. So, just kind of stick that there. Get a photo of that, because that looks pretty darn cool. Or at least it looks cool in person, not so much in photographs so far. I need to bring this in a little closer. Okay. That probably won't make it, but you know, still looks pretty cool. Alright, so now I just need to give it a 1/4 cup of water. Does this have a 1/4 cup measurement? Does this have a 1/4 cup measurement? Oh, it's right underneath the 1/3. Okay. So about a 1/4 cup of water. And juice the lime into that water. We're going to use this to glaze the skillet in a bit. And I should probably go ahead and measure out my peanut sauce too. As well as my coconut milk. Oh. Baking dish. Where are my good baking dishes? Not sure if I like that one. That looks a little too modern to me. Well, this one should do. Okay. I'm gonna use this guy. I think it's pretty, and it looks classic enough. I think, yeah, that should work. And I'm gonna make sure that my oven rack is far enough down, middle rack, perfect. Okay, so where's my water? With my lime juice. Okay. There we go. All right. So, let's go ahead and move back to our stove cam. And I'm going to preheat my skillet over about medium heat for 3 minutes. Was going to do that. I'm going to do it on this one. 3 minutes. And while we're waiting on that, we're going to grab our pound of ground chicken. Here it is. And I need to find wherever the heck... Ah, here's my fish sauce. That's not enough fish sauce. I've got another bottle in here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Yes. Fish sauce, holy, holy fish sauce. Okay. So, chicken. Ah. Okay. There we go. I don't think there's any... Yeah, there's a bit of paper on the bottom, but I'll get it as soon as it goes in to the thing. Right now, I'm just waiting for that to preheat. And... Right. Let's go ahead and measure some stuff out. So... what I am going to need... Did I leave my coconut milk here? Yes, I did. I forgot to put... Oh, good. Good for me. Good thing I haven't started cooking the vegetables yet, because I need to smash up some garlic. Need about 6 cloves. As if it'll let me into my garlic bulb. Just 1, 2, 3. What the heck, we're just going to use the whole head. So I think we've got 7 cloves in this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. And as much as I hate to advertise multitaskers, I'm going to use them because I am running out of time. So, garlic peeler and where to go? Garlic press. Yes. But, you know, the nice thing is, we still have time. So, let's go ahead and go back to our stove can, where I've got a very hot skillet waiting and ready to go. Just gonna get some olive oil on that, for one. And that is very hot. And it did not take the paper with it. Yay! Shut up. Okay. And, I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Because it'll probably take me as long as such to get this cooked up. So. Alright. I'm just gonna let this brown and do its thing. And put that on a separate plate. Put on this right there. We're about 2 minutes left on our potatoes, which is good, because I need to get my coconut milk measured out. I might just use the whole thing, but first I want to make sure I've got enough. Aha! Get a quick pick of that, because it looks cool. Even though it's a mess. So don't you love seeing pictures of garbage? There we go. Eh. Seriously? Okay. Spoon! Come to my aid, spoon. That giant thing of coconut cream off the top. This is very solid coconut milk. Just fine. It's going to be nice and creamy for me, which is absolutely perfect, actually, come to think of it. Yeah, that actually works. Okay, where did my spatula go? Here we are. Just gonna cook that until it browns and the majority of that liquid is gone, which we are obviously not there yet. I'm gonna try to break that up a little bit more. Sauteing action and a little bit less stewing. There we go. And my cat is so lovingly waiting for me to drop something. Because she's a good girl like that. Alrighty. And... oh, I wish this looked better. Trade-off I get. Okay. How are we doing on that chicken? We're doing just fine. Alrighty. So, the potatoes are done, which means I need to get them the heck out of that pot. And where'd my strainer go? Here it is. Okay. Alright. So I'm just going to let that drain. And this guy goes back on the stovetop. And I realized I forgot to put my spices in. So cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger are what is going in there. Nutmeg. If I have enough nutmeg, we shall see. I think I've got some extra nutmeg in here. And where did my ginger go? That's not ginger, that's allspice. Haha. Ginger ground is right here. As I navigate my spice arsenal with annoying speed. Okay. How are we doing on that? Whoop. Alright. We are getting pretty close. Just gonna add a touch of salt. Bit of kosher salt. There we go. Quick season. And I'm gonna add my coconut milk to my potato pan. Which, I mean, I don't know, I might actually either add some more coconut milk or add some water. Anywho, garlic. Let's that did not work. Use the good old chef's knife method. There we go. Smashed open. About you. Will you work? Nope. The garlic wants to be smashed open. And I should oblige. However, it sounds like my chicken is ready to have some onion added to it. Well, shallots added to it. Yeah. Alright. And I'm just gonna switch spatulas, because that's kind of contaminated. And add that in with another touch of oil. Oh, that is, if I don't knock everything off the side of my stove. Alright. Probably should have used the larger skillet for this, but it'll be fine. Okay, cool. We'll let that do its thing as we are peeling some garlic. Just gonna cut that bit off. Don't need that. And it's gonna smash. There we go. More to smash. Oh wow. That was multi-clove right there. Okay. Yeah. Here's also the problem with okay. And smash. Oh, just gonna go ahead and get a picture of that carrot. That looks good. Okay. Oof. Will admit, I'm tempted to take a kitchen mallet to this thing. Oh, wow. Let's cut off the not so fun bit. Oh, wow. I just bought this garlic, too. Well, I'll be fine. Okay. And 2 more. Oh, and there we go. All right. Got the garlic. Got the press. Just press that right into the edamame because that's going to go at the same time. Check on so I don't burn things, which is starting to brown a little bit too much here. There we go. Let's switch the cam for that and find myself a oven mitt. Here we are. Add a touch more olive oil to that. Besides, little brown bits add caramelization. It'll be rather good, I think. Okay. Almost to deglazing our skillet. And come on. And these last little bits of garlic. Which is actually kind of perfect timing considering that the oven just got to temperature. Appropriate temperature. So, don't need that anymore. So what's going in the sink? A little bit more thorough clean once we're done. Okay. Switch back. Probably turn the heat down a little bit more towards me. A lower medium. Okay. Alright. Just gonna add the edamame and garlic. I believe that's what we're doing, yep. About 30 seconds. really pretty color. All right. Get a photo of that real quick. Okay. And now, I'm going to deglaze that. And this is where I realized that I forgot to add my cilantro. So, just gonna get about a half cup worth of chopped cilantro. This looks like that's about that much. So, just gonna chop that up really quickly. And about half of that lime zest. And after stirring all that, scraping up the brown bits from the bottom of the pan. It's where we kind of get that chicken larb flavor. We're going to add about a half a cup. So I shake the bottle once I find the cap of the darn bottle. Where did the cap go? Ah, here it is. A half a cup of peanut sauce. And this is basically going to be that gravy that you would normally get with a shepherd's or cottage pie. Just kind of want to stir that in until it, for the most part, kind of thickens and absorbs. Like so. Brain. Camera. Yes. Okay. A little too blurry for my liking, but it's fine, it's fine. But look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. Alright, so that means let's clean off my workspace a little bit. We can get rid of that for one. And empty out our filling directly into our pan, our baking dish thing. Ooh. All right. Okay, just kind of spread that in an even layer. Give this a rinse. I'll give that a little bit more of a thorough clean after this episode. But in the meantime, we need to make our sweet potato topping. So, if you will turn your attention back to the stove, and you kind of have to, because that's what I did. And, right, measuring spoons and things. So, I am just heating up my coconut milk over low heat just to warm it up, because the thing is that for a good mashed potato or mashed sweet potato, you want the liquid you're adding to it to also be at a similar temperature. Otherwise, it will release its starch all at once and give you kind of that wallpaper paste consistency that you often get with really badly made mashed potatoes. So, I've got my coconut milk here on low. To that, I am going to add some things. So, be adding about, let's actually read my darn recipe, half a teaspoon of ginger. There's one, there's two. So that's half a teaspoon. Then, a half a quarter cinnamon. A quarter teaspoon of cinnamon. There. That is if I don't just fling it all over my kitchen, which sometimes happens. And a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg. But wait, there's more. So, in most Thai recipes, I mean, there is soy sauce because they do use soybeans and whatnot. However, my favorite addition to Thai food is fish sauce, which I know it's a condiment made of fermented fish, but it's so good. Also, very popular with the Romans in the form of garum. So you can't just claim that it's some obscure Asian thing. Our many ancestors realized the umami deliciousness of fish sauce. I'm going to add about, let's do about a tablespoon worth of fish sauce. And hope that works. Alright. Now, you could use a potato ricer. However, I don't feel like cleaning out a potato ricer. So, I'm just gonna blend that all together and add our sweet potatoes. Then, you probably actually have in your kitchen potato masher. So, and as you can see, it is pretty darn mashed. Of course, while baking it in the oven is going to thicken up our consistency a little bit. So, I'm going to turn our fan off because we don't need that anymore. And switch back to our prep can to cover our cottage pie with mashed potatoes. And I'm realizing I probably should have had more sweet potato, but it'll be fine. Besides, I think that's looking rather good. And we'll just use a spatula to spread that out a little bit better. There we go. Doesn't that look lovely? You want to make sure that it's definitely distinctly 2 different layers. So spreading out evenly is highly recommended. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Alright, so it means this can go in the oven and we can finish making our punch. Perfect. So I'm just gonna throw that guy into the oven, set a timer. Well, get a picture first, obviously. It smells excellent, I can tell you that. Okay, let's get that sucker into the oven. On the middle rack, if you can. For about 20 minutes. Okay. Cool beans. So, like I said, this means we can finish off making our punch. So, for that, you're gonna need a bottle of champagne. You're gonna need a strainer of some kind. You're not gonna be the things I just pulled off my stovetop. So let's find ourselves a proper strainer. Now, I did not have time to get myself a fine mesh strainer, but this guy should do the job. So, I'm just gonna pull out this big thing of boozahol and get a strainer on that. And I'm gonna go ahead and transfer my syrup to a measuring cup, so it's less likely to pour all over the place. Well, actually, I'm gonna make things a little easier for myself in general. Strain once to a measuring cup. And strain a second time into my boozahol pitcher. There we go. And I've made a mess. There we go. But luckily, not too much of one. I'll take care of that once the stream's over. And finally, let's go ahead and just switch perspective there. Just need to get my cheap bottle of champagne open. So, oh, and Strike said in chat, I should have noticed it earlier, we were talking about fish sauce, and that rations of garum, i.e. fish sauce, like ancient fish sauce, and salt were part of pay for the Roman Legion. So, alright, you just grab a Dish towel. Safest way to open a bottle of champagne. Not sabrage, as fun as it is. I do not need to accidentally scare the hell out of my cats. All I'm gonna do. What I'm kidding, I'm gonna scare the hell out of myself. Alright. Hey, babe. Oh, wait, no, I think I got this. Haha! Dish towel. Yes. So. Now, granted, you could do this, say, if you want a, well, less alcoholic version. I can't say non-alcoholic, considering the majority of this is alcohol. You can use some lemon lime soda or club soda. Well, it's just using lemon lime soda for that extra bit of acidity that you would get with champagne. But there we go. That smells excellent. I'm just gonna give that a quick stir with, there's no better way of saying this, my happy stick. Yeah, this is the spoon I use for stirring lemonade, and yes, it is a dirty joke in itself. So, just gonna give that a stir, stir, stir. Actually, it's getting all fizzy and pretty. Look at that. Stir, 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 stir. Okay. And, ideally, I would then put this in the refrigerator and chill it until it was ready to serve. However, because I spent the time making this lovely dish, I'm going to have some over ice once I finish my lemonade. I should have thought this through. Don't want to waste a glass. I'm going to be bouncing off the walls with all the sugar I'm having. Okay. Alright, let's give that a rinse. And some ice. And this recipe makes about a half a gallon of punch, which is, I think, the perfect amount to enjoy with your friends on a game session of Good Society. So, let's give that a taste. Okay, I can see why the Prince Regent enjoyed this. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely getting the warmth of the oranges, but combined with the amaretto, and just that little hint of licorice from the anisette. Oh, this is so good. So, with that said, we are at the end of our episode. I want to thank you for joining me for tonight's episode, i.e. this week's episode of Munchies and Minis. I will be streaming again, likely probably Tuesday night of this upcoming week. Mostly because I do need to get my recipe cards finished all out for the month of June for my Patreon subscribers. That's right, we are actually 14 episodes past of where we are on the blog. So keep an eye out on the blog, but also every time I run one of these episodes, I always put the highlight in full on Twitch, so you should be able to go through previous episodes before it goes on the blog, so do that. Anywho, I guess I'll be back on Tuesday making a dish called cheese blossoms, and yeah, they're artichokes stuffed with spicy cheese curds, based off of one of Pathfinder's RPG module supplements. So keep tuned for that. That was also what my Patreon subscribers voted for. That's right, if you are a member of my Patreon, that means you get to vote on what recipes are on upcoming episodes of Munchies and Minis. You also get access to the recipe cards before anyone else does. I'm not kidding. Anyone gets them. I mean, like I said, we saw on the blog, about 14 episodes ago, as on my Ko-Fi, but none of the recently past 14 episodes have had their cards on Ko-Fi. They've all been on my Patreon. So keep an eye out about that. I could go on about that, but I won't. And also, if you happen to be a fan of Regency era romance, or just Regency era, Napoleonic era fiction or movies or whatever, tune in this Friday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, for Slady's Atlanta's one-shot, Good Society one-shot. I will be playing as, well, like I said earlier, two different dowager widows of different ages and dispositions. It should be pretty darn fun. We had session 0 a few nights ago, and it was hilarious. So look forward to that. And yeah, before I go on rattling off any more, thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe, stay sane, stay you. My name is Catherine Barsonistis. You've been watching the Gluttonous Geek presents Munchies and Minis. Have a great night.